Hey there, so today we're gonna take some brand new beds and get them prepped so that we can transplant some lettuce into them. So if you haven't watched the previous video, which I'll link right here, that was all about building new beds from scratch, and now I want to take those beds and transplant or direct seed into them. This time it's going to be transplanting some lettuce, but there's a couple steps we do and they're very similar to how we just turn over a bed in general. The first thing is you can see that everything is pretty leveled out. Not completely smooth, but pretty close. And so we're going to take that, and the first thing we're going to do is Broadfork. And this is always a little bit tricky the first few times you do it, because the soil that's underneath the compost and other soil that we put down is going to be pretty stiff. It's never really been worked. We never tilled it, so it's just kind of sitting there. And just make sure you work it, take your time. If you don't have a super beefy Broadfork, then you just make sure that you're a little bit careful. I bend these forks all the time and have to bend them back, so yeah, just work your way down. And the point of this is to loosen the soil, and 3 reasons for that is to make sure that the oxygen and moisture can get down there so that the biology will be happy. And yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and do these for these 2 beds. We're going to be adding 2 amendments as we get started. One is Azomite. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it up in front of the camera here. It's a granulated material. Azomite is a volcanic rock dust, and I don't know, I haven't really used it before, but is recommended, and it adds a lot of micronutrients, and I know my soil is pretty lacking in a lot of stuff, so I'm going to give it a shot. It's one of those things you add once a year, so we'll put it down at the beginning and then probably won't redose it until next spring, and we'll see how it goes. So that's the first one that we're going to do. I just go ahead and sprinkle this on the beds here, and so I'm just going to do one at a time. And you just kind of want to go in a zigzag pattern. And by doing that zigzag pattern, it spreads out really evenly, because once we go over it with the tilther, it really mixes in really nicely. All right, so the other amendment we're using here is alfalfa meal, very powdery, just ground up alfalfa. Now, last year we used a lot of dried organic composted chicken manure as our main fertilizer, and this year I'm going to be leaning more on compost, and it's a little bit more of a pain because there's just more material to move, but because we're working with heavy clay soil, I want to try to get as much organics in the ground as possible. Now, using a lot of compost, you have to make sure your biology is very active and very healthy, so that those nutrients become available. So we'll be mainly using alfalfa meal and compost, and we might try a couple other things throughout the year, but we'll see how it goes. I just want to cut down on the chicken manure. It's labeled organic, but it comes from huge industrial farmed conventional chicken operations, and then somehow it's organic. I don't know all the details, but we're going to try to cut down on that. If we need it, we'll use it. I still have a little bit left. So we'll sprinkle this guy on, and then I'll do the other bed, and then roll on the tilther. To mention was, because our compost that we've been getting here has manure in it, then this kind of makes me think I don't need to add as much chicken manure. But anyways, next step we're going to do, I got the amendments down, is we're going to run the tilther. If you haven't seen one of these tools, it's super neat. Again, a little bit pricey. It was one of the things I kind of splurged on when we started the farm, but I like it. Is it a must-have? No, you can use a rake, but it's just really nice. It gets a really nice tilth. That's sort of the fluffiness and condition of the soil, and it really incorporates amendments. You can't till with this. It really only, I'll hold it up for you guys. You can see the blades are really tiny. It probably only goes down like a half an inch, maybe an inch. It's kind of, as I said, kind of like a rake, run by a cordless drill. And then there is a string here, a rope here that pulls the trigger, and then you operate it up here by just squeezing this here. So it doesn't do the whole bed at once, so it takes 2 passes. Sometimes I go up and back twice, depending on what it looks like, but after this, we'll just be able to rake it out. So great little tool. Is it a must-have? No. Is it nice to have? Yeah. Got the tilting done. See, I don't know if maybe you can see. Looks great. It's all incorporated. Next thing and last thing before I transplant is I use a landscape rake. So Johnny sells an awesome one. It's 30 inches wide, which is perfect for these beds. This guy I got at Lowe's. It was less than half the price. Thing is, it's 36 inches wide, so it's not perfect. It is made pretty well. I'm actually considering cutting off the ends a little bit to make it 30 inches wide, but more, maybe I will get to that. So anyways, I'll rake this smooth and we can start transplanting. Oh, one last thing about this is I don't always put the strings out every time that I flip beds, but because I had them up for building the beds, the first time I put in a bed, it's actually really nice to have the strings up because you can make sure that you get it set up really nice and straight and in the right spot. Got those beds transplanted. It all looks good. Anyways, just wanted to sort of continue the last video, which hopefully you guys watch, about starting beds from scratch. And this is very similar to how we turn over beds in the middle of the season. Eventually I'll post a video about that too. So you guys have watched enough YouTube videos, you know what to do now. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.